these two dynamic mastermind designers, duos, just the excellent brand of Bruce Glen Proctor and the Bruce Glen collection. How y'all doing today?
We're doing well. We're doing well. Thank you for having us, Sean.
Look, what caught my attention, I saw a fashion week event on TikTok.
Okay.
The lady with the tambourine. That's what caught my attention.
Yeah, a lot of people really love that. A lot of people really love that video. That's one of the members of our New York branch of our church.
Oh, really?
Mama Trina. And I called, in the TikTok, you can see I called her up.
Like maybe 2 days before the show.
2 days before the show. It was an idea that just popped up in our minds because we didn't plan it like that. And then Glenn happened to be recording at that point when we were walking, like just kind of in Times Square. And he got that part on video. And then later on, we got a nice video of Mama Trina doing her thing. And she really did, she did her thing. Like she always does.
She was banging.
You should see her on Sundays. On Sundays, she's doing her thing for real.
Now, how long have you two been both in the fashion industry? Give me a little bit more insight.
Oh my gosh, just you about to, now you're gonna be able to do calculations and find out how old we are. We probably
got the same age.
Okay, we've been in the industry for about 17 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
did this all start like in high school, or y'all like known as trendsetters? Because you know, twins, they always seem to be dressed like, or you know, the parents do something at the box. No, I need my kids to look alike. Was that what it was?
We always kind of had like an inkling or like an interest toward fashion, but we didn't really recognize it as something we were going to do as a career until we got to high school. And we realized we had to make a decision about what we were going to study when we went to college. So, you know, we couldn't dance around it anymore. You know, we declared that we were going to go to school, Bruce for fashion design and myself for fashion merchandising and business marketing. Yeah.
So y'all are from New York, correct?
Well, we're from
Washington, D.C.
Born and raised in D.C. We went to high school in
Washington,
D.C. In D.C. We went to college in Reading, Pennsylvania. And then from Reading, Pennsylvania, an internship between our sophomore and junior year, we went to New York City to work that internship and never went back to school. Stayed in New York.
That internship turned to a job, and the rest is history.
Now, how did the culture of DC influence you all's fashion trends and, you know, just to be leaving stamps on people?
I don't know. You know what? I never really thought about that.
Yeah. Well, growing up in DC, we grew up in the hood, you know, so we were very
our style was very suppressed. We suppressed it.
Yeah, we were very influenced more so by what, you know, young guys our age were wearing, just because we wanted to fit in and we wanted to, you know, look like everybody else.
I guess if we think about like DC and our origins and like our upbringing and how that influenced who we are today, I would say it had to do more with like maybe watching our mom get dressed, my sister get dressed for the club, going to church, seeing church fashion and like the fancy church hats and things like that. So those kind of things influenced us, but like our own personal style, I would say we always loved color. We always loved like things that were a little bit out of the box and avant-garde, but we never wore it. We never looked to it because, like, you know, there was a uniform in DC growing up and we kind of stayed with that uniform. Shop Taylor J, hey, it's good to see you.
So now, again, you're influenced by so many different visual references, church, the street culture, the nightlife, and so much more. Like, when did you realize, you said y'all always been out the box, but when did you all collectively come together to be like, you know, this is what we're going to do. We love seeing how it's eye-popping, but you're setting a whole new pace for what, you know, what people want to follow.
Yeah. I think really it was 10. I don't know. What would you say? It wasn't.
What do you mean? You like to say
like,
10 years ago?
Yeah. I don't know an exact time, but I think at some point along the way.
Hey, Uncle Jeffro.
Because we realized that for a while, when we started Bruce Glen, because Bruce Glen was started about 17 years ago when we first got to New York City, and we weren't going to start a brand because, like, we were like, how are we going to start a brand? We don't have anything. We don't know too much And we were just coming off of our internship, and then we were working a regular job. And our cousin David, he said, "You need to start your collection now." And we were like, "How are we going to do that? We don't know anybody. We don't have any resources."
And we started a collection, and the collection was very, very much like what we thought a collection had to be. It was very, it wasn't colorful and bright.
It was fancy,
and our logo was different. It was a lot fancier than it was now. It was cream and white, cream and black. And then
it had a little bit more of a sophisticated edge than I think what our clothing has today.
And I think in just living life and coming to understand who we are and
what we like,
and
what comes and flows out of us naturally,
and not trying to fit into a particular box, we began just designing what we were drawn to, right? And so we started designing a lot of color, a lot of pattern, and that's really when people started responding to the brand, and we realized that what caused people to respond is what was naturally inside of us, you know,
as opposed to doing something that we thought was the right thing to do or the right look to have.
And then we realized that God put all these things specifically for us to do, you know, and if we're trying to be like somebody else, then we're negating or dismissing all these wonderful things that God put in us specifically to do. And so
there is a statement that God has positioned each and every single person to make via their career, their dreams coming true, their lives, their voices, whatever it is. God has positioned you to have a unique point of view, which the world needs. So we can't try to make it look like somebody else's or conform to an idea, as opposed to...
We realized that, and when we started doing what was inside of us is when we started getting the response.
Now, when I first saw the snippets of New York Fashion Week, I was like, these people are giving eclectic Vogue. The silhouettes, the shape, the out-the-box structure, the cutter blocks. I'm like, this is very Vogue. So what are some of you all individually but collectively fashion influences outside of what you've already cultivated within yourself that you decide to share with the world? Who's influenced you all?
Well, I mean, I think we're very, I guess, in terms of an era, we're very drawn to 90s fashion, which you probably saw.
80s and 90s.
Yeah, 80s and 90s, which you probably saw a lot of, especially in our last show.
So that could be a Grace Jones influence. It could be a Michael Jackson influence. These very sort of iconic shapes with like a bold shoulder and a small waist, you know, kind of creating those silhouettes. We use some shoulder pads, not anything too dramatic, but just a suggestion of in our last fall collection. Those kind of ideas. I think that we're also like really inspired by like Marc Jacobs in the 90s. We love John Galliano, Versace, you know, especially in the Gianni Versace days.
And all those people are very color and print heavy designers, you know, and so I think we're just inspired by color and print.
But everything starts with color for us. So like we're always like reworking, you know, like the spectrum of colors, like the rainbow. We're always reworking that and figuring out how we want to make those colors work together. And it's fun for us. That's really fun for us. And we just met with one of our pattern makers today. And this was her first time seeing the collection. She's like a little old Latin lady. And she was like, "Oh, you guys have such a way with color." And I'm like, it's something that just feels right for us. It's not like we're trying to, you know, figure out, you know, like the color theory or, you know, right, books. It's just something that feels really good to us to work with colors and to rework their positioning and how they work together.
Now, another thing that I love about you spoke on being color, being vibrant. It also relates to personality and just shining your light amongst the room, because again, you're turning heads when people step in. It's shining your light in so many different vibrant frequency waves that it makes people attract to you in a whole different way. Now, you just named out for some of the top brands that exist right now, you know, alongside yourself. You know, it's a lot of brands collaborating. So if you all could collaborate with one brand that you've been influenced by, that you just really love their aesthetic, who would it be for a collection?
I'd love to do like a collaboration with a brand that's like really classic, you know, like
Chanel.
Like Chanel. Like,
I think it would be cool to take, because right now we're working on the project. I can't say what it is, but we're working on a project with like a sportswear company that is like really clean, black, white, neutrals. And our task is to bring that edge to what we do already. So like a brand that's classic, like Chanel, like suiting and tweed, and to be able to kind of get a Bruce Glen spin would be really nice to do. Because there's some things that make sense, you know, like if we were to do a collaboration with Versace, that makes a lot of sense because a lot of color and in the 80s references a lot. But like to do something like Chanel would be pretty cool.
Now, how long did it take you all to put together your New York Fashion Week show? You all had so many details with the accents, of course, the patterns. I saw that you talk about the sublimation process of going through the printing, getting all the garments ready. And how long did it take you all to put that together?
I would say this was the one that we had the most time ever. Usually we're like, you know, racing the clock and everything. And we were racing the clock by the end of everything. Because that's just fashion. You know, it wouldn't be fashion if you're not racing the clock at some point. But we over a couple months, like what, 3 months? Over 3 months, we were working on that collection and designing stuff for it. Yeah, it's I mean, like it's a little bit of a crazy schedule, like fashion is. Like right now, we're shipping the rest of spring to stores. We're designing resort. We're about to start designing resort. We kind of started. And at the same time, we're conceptualizing spring 24. And then we're working on a drop of Amazon that we're about to do. So it's like 8 different things going on at any one time. So we're trying. So we really have to have like a big calendar. Like that's the only way we can work. We can put it on a computer, on our phone, but like we have to have a big calendar where we can look at and see, you know, what's what and where it's coming, so we can have a visual representation.
Now, I know a lot of times people say it's hard to work with family. Now, y'all are twins. Y'all are identical, but y'all still separate in y'all own way. Has there been any challenges like with creating collaborations of like the collection? He might have an idea, you might have an idea, but y'all can't find the balance sometimes?
I almost killed him right before this phone call. Right before this live, I almost killed him. No, I'm just joking. No, generally we vibe well. We don't have any hiccups as far as like design and like creativity. You know, it might be like, okay, I heard you, don't tell me like that, you know, like that kind of but it's not like like as far as the brand and like, you know, our vision for the brand and collections and things like that, we flow pretty well together. Yeah, I think as far as like taste and what we like, and Bruce is a really great designer. He's really talented, and sometimes he's a little too talented, you know. And what I mean by that is he likes to really design, you know. He likes to put all the bells and whistles, and I'm usually the person that comes in and like kind of helps shape it and bring it down to earth.
Well, look, we are all here for it. I say you all are what the culture needs, a revamp, you know, just the whole new reinvention of fashion. It's always revolving, and you know, when I say I loved it, I was like, these boys are dope. They're out the box, but you know, they're twins, so everything about it is unique, from the color to you all's base to you all's brand, and then to find out that you all are ministers. Now, has there been ever any challenges within the creation process? And you know how sometimes church people like to put you in a box. Have y'all had any of those challenges? And like, you know, you should design like this, or you know, what's the process?
In the past, we were a part of a ministry for about 16 years that we were very involved in, and we started churches and stuff for that ministry, and so they had a lot of say in what we did and what we didn't do, and you know, which is why we're not there anymore. And like after 16 years, we made like some major life changes. You know, personal, location wise, we moved from New York to LA, just kind of get a fresh new start. And we started our own ministry, which is the church. Period. That's what it is. The church. And we have a location on the East Coast and a location here on the West Coast. And I think that our church and who we are as ministers and people, and as people, just as people of God, period. It stands for freedom, no judgment, love, you know, acceptance, all those things that
were maybe hard to do and embody being a part of another organization, our previous church, and now really advocating for artists to be artists and to love God and to have a personal relationship and let the personal relationship steer your individual choices as opposed to being told what to do. So what we like to do as ministers is sort of lay a platform for people to really come to know Jesus for themselves. And through that lens, through that door, is where you find your way, your destiny, your success, your peace. And that's what we kind of lead people to do. We do get people on our Instagram who are very, I guess, traditional or churchy, and they usually don't know too much about us. Maybe they'll see a video of us preaching or something, and they'll have some crazy comments, and I'm like, send me a DM, we can talk.
You don't know us. You don't know anything about us.
You know what I mean? So we're not really, I guess, long story short, we're not too concerned about the church saved person in their opinion. We're more so concerned about people who have turned their backs and said, I'll never go to church. It's too judgmental. You have to look a certain way.
So I
won't ever fit in. So we are a representation of that. And I really believe that God has called us to reach those people and to minister to those people and show them that Jesus loves you regardless.
To boil it down, we really don't regard what, people have to say.
And we have our own sort of compass, from our personal relationship with God as far as what he wants or doesn't want us to design, because there are some things, that I'll be like designing, I'll be like, and the Lord be like, now and I'll be like, okay, man, you're right, Lord. Okay, let me, and that's even more beautiful.
I mean, for our last collection, we had a lot of references to the female body. We had like shapes that pointed toward nakedness, and for us, it was really a representation. Because so there's a whole story behind the last collection, but it's a representation of going back to the garden and stripping away of everything and being bare before the Lord. When you get down to the nitty gritty, that was the meaning behind a lot of that.
So, with your foundation and base of faith and your skill sets, when did you both realize that you fell in alignment with your purpose together collectively?
I think when our clothing provided a platform for us to reach people that we would have never normally reached by standing on a corner saying repent, sinner. You know what I mean? Or, people who would have never come across, our ministry or what we do had it not been for our clothing, or people DMing us, telling us that they were depressed and they ordered one of our dresses and they wore it and it brought them out of depression, because when they wore it outside, people were complimenting them. They were starting communication and conversations with people. Those are just some of the moments when we're reassured that our fashion is aligning with our purpose, or that we're walking in our purpose.
And this is what we teach people too, and we wholeheartedly believe, like, the thing that you are passionate about, the gift that you have, whatever you're doing, whatever that is that you're contributing to the world, also God, that's your first ministry, and that's where God wants to use you through. It's not that you have to be a fashion preacher like us, that's our thing, right? But you could be a set designer who is in love with Jesus and able to tell people on an individual basis and communicate with people on a daily basis, or just walk into a room carrying the anointing of God and change the room. Like, it doesn't have to be how we do it necessarily,
or how you've seen your grandmother,
or how grandma has done it,
or your father, or your mother. It's a new day and age.
You don't have to put preacher behind your profession.
Right.
You don't have to be like dancer,
it's
preacher.
Really just allowing
authentic, unorthodox.
Exactly. It's really just allowing there to be
just walking in the evidence of your personal relationship with Jesus. And I think that affects the room, that affects people, that affects the atmosphere more than any, preaching, down somebody's throat could, honestly.
Now, how important is it for those parents that are, raising kids that might be creatives, but they really don't understand the full magnitude of what comes from a creative, their energy and their out the boxness? How important is self-expression for those parents that don't really understand?
Very important. So when we were growing up, we started drawing paper dolls and with interchangeable clothing. We made paper dolls. We were about 10, and 11. I guess we kind of knew that it wouldn't go over well, with our mother. So we had a little crown box, and she lived in a crown box, and she had all kinds of clothes. She had a full wardrobe. And one day my mother found the paper dolls, and she was like, "What is this?" And we're like, "Oh, that's Tishana, I don't know if her name was Tashana. I just made up a name, but it was our paper doll. And she was like, she threw it away, and she was like, you're not supposed to be playing with paper dolls, And to us, it wasn't necessarily paper dolls. It was just a way to express our love for fashion and putting outfits together. We couldn't verbalize that then. And you're young, you don't know how to verbalize. And she had no idea, she was a woman in the hood, doing the best that she could with what she had. And she was like, my boys ain't about to get teased, you know what I mean? Like, that idea, So I would say that, sometimes parents are just really just doing the best that they can with what they have, But I think it's really important, thank God, that didn't deter us, and we're still doing what we love. And I think at some point you grow older and you realize that you got to do really what's inside of you to do and what makes you happy. Because we really, even when we started to, in junior high school and high school, understand that we liked fashion, we really never said we would become fashion designers. And probably a lot of it will be traced back to that moment, as kids, when our paper or just how people would react, or what they would say or think of us because we were guys from the hood who wanted to do fashion. So I think it's important, if a parent can, embrace it, embrace, their kids' creativity and try to foster it and get them into classes. And I think more these days, parents are a little more accepting, than they were when we were growing up. But it all can be, I get it, it can all be very scary, trying to navigate these worlds. And trying to raise kids, period. It's tough out here, trying to raise kids. One little thing can scar them forever. And you're like, why don't you like to be around people? Because when I was 6, you took away, huh? Oh my gosh, I didn't know that did that, So you just need Jesus, is the thing.
Now, another thing I love about your story, I feel like this really hit a playing field level of what people say fashion influencer is. You said people have bought a piece and their lives have been changed, or people, you've healed their confidence and brought a new person from the inside out. So how would you, scale fashion influence in your own words?
Wow, that's a wonderful question and beautiful how you framed it. I would say that we as creatives have a responsibility, and it's greater than just putting some dope art or a dope piece of clothing out into the world. Because if you think about the ability to create, you're acting in a godly attribute, right? Because he is the creator, and so he gives us the ability to do what he does, and that's why I think artists are so important, because they're all creators, whether they're creating music, they're creating clothing, a sculpture, a painting, shoes. It's important. So I think that the ultimate influence is to influence people unto goodness, is to influence people to dream and to see themselves bigger than their current situation, whatever that current situation is. It could be a little boy sitting in his, in a one-room shack somewhere. And if what we can create and what we can do is influencing someone to see their lives and what it could be much bigger than where they are right now. If it's a depressed girl who gets a Bruce Glen purse, the color is a burst of joy. And even, I believe, the transference of anointing and power onto a garment, the same way
that Peter took a napkin and he said, send that napkin over to the sick and it'll revive them. I believe that. Then I think that's when we are working in the ultimate level of influence.
Okay, so I got a little game for y'all, right?
Okay.
I'm gonna name, right. I'm gonna name a few names, and you're gonna tell me the first thing that comes to mind or first thought that you come to mind when you hear a name.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Tamron Hall.
Great gowns. No, I'm joking. Awesome interviewer. Yeah. I mean, every interview I've seen of her, she's just like, you know, I mean, she asks really great questions.
Lala Anthony.
She has our bag. That's the first thing that comes to mind. She got one of our bags. I would have liked her to post it.
You might catch her on the streets walking, the paparazzi get you.
Right.
Solange Knowles.
Innovator.
Chloe Bailey.
I love her. I know I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind. I love her. I think she's a very special girl. We were able to get her a dress. She has a bunch of our bags actually. She has one that she wears a lot. She's worn it a couple times out and about. But she's so sweet. We got a chance to like really meet her, because even though, you know, she's had our stuff, we're usually working through stylists to get it to her. And we gave her one time something with like a note and our picture on it and stuff. So we met her at a sax event, so she already knew who we were. And I didn't know she would know who we were. So I said, Chloe, you wore our dress. And she was like, I know. And I was like, no, listen, Chloe, listen at me, okay? You wore our dress. Jennifer, your stylist. She said, I know. I know who you are. I know who you are. You know, and we like took a picture together, and like she walked past, and then she walked past again with her, it was a crowded room, and she walked past again with her manager, godmother. And then she stopped and she was like, God bless you guys. God bless you guys. And she was like, this is my manager and my godmother. You know, so she's very sweet. She's such a wonderful, wonderful person.
Sarah Jakes.
Oh, amazing. Powerhouse. Wow, power, really. I mean, my gosh. You know, it was a dream come true to dress her, you know. And when we got in contact, we met on Jay Bolin. At the Maverick City Kirk Franklin concert here in LA. Our LA life has been so crazy. Okay, anyway, let me just get back on subject. But we went to the Maverick City Kirk Franklin, and we had like standing seats like right by the stage. I made sure I had good seats. And the concert was, oh my gosh, so amazing.
Stay on top.
Kirk is gonna bring energy. Kirk is gonna bring it all the energy.
Yeah, for sure.
It was next level.
It was a mashup of our childhood and our now, because we love Maverick City. We listen to that now. We listen to Kirk Franklin growing up. So it was like I felt like my head was going to explode. Like that's how.
Anyway, that's when we met
Jay
Bolin. So after the concert,
Jay Bolin walks up to us and he's like, "Hey guys," he said,
I really love what you're doing. I love, you know, that you got in fashion and that you love God. And I see your stuff on Fashion Bomb Daily.
And we never even knew he followed us.
I
didn't even know he was following us.
He was like, I follow you guys. And I'm like, you do follow us? What? This is crazy.
And so we connected, and we had been going, and when he was here in LA, he came to our showroom, and we had been going back and forth about trying to make something work. And so we had just gotten all this product in, and so we just
love you, Jay Moore.
We just shipped them out some stuff, and that next Friday, Sarah showed up preaching in Bruce Glen, and more to come. Stay tuned.
And the oil was running.
What'd you say?
The oil was running.
The oil was running.
Okay. So last one, Kiara Sheard, Kelly.
Oh my goodness! What a voice! What a voice!
Yeah.
What a voice! We actually got to meet her mother randomly in Saks Fifth Avenue. And she was so nice, and she gave me her telephone number and everything.
Yeah.
And so
we'd be texting Karen Clark.
So I'd be texting her like, "Hey, baby, hi, Miss Sheard. I hope you're having a nice day." And she'll text back, "Thank you, baby, so much." You know, just like I just text her every once in a while. And
her daughter's amazing. I said, tell your daughter I love you. And she said, you have, she said, she's married now, but you handsome, you know. And I said, no, just tell her, you know, we love her as, you know, for what she does and everything.
Look, man, I just can't wait to see what else y'all do, who else I can spot in a Bruce Glen piece. Look, when the fall show come, I want the invite so I can come cover the event.
Are you in New York?
No, I'm in Texas. I'm in Dallas area.
Okay, so but you'll be in New York during Fashion Week?
I'll come a few times, yes.
Okay, cool.
I came last February.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we're really excited for the fall show or the